ladies. I'm back in the house, and of course, I'm still doing my daily vlogs like I promised that I'm going to do. If some of y'all just tuning into it, to the recent videos, I'm doing a GoFundMe account in regards of trying to move, and God is going to set up another place. Okay, so yeah, I'm so drained. I'm really drained. I'm really drained today. As you can see, Symphony's getting her snack on, and I got my iced coffee, and I was on a mission. I got a lot of things done today, so yeah. I was going through my emails, and one of you has sent me an email, and I wanted to respond to it, and I'm going to reach out to you as well, because you did leave me a number. It said, "Hi Mona, I was just sitting here watching your Would I Forgive Them video, and God spoke to me and said I should share this with you. God is a jealous God. You know that. But sometimes we can be so involved in ourselves and our wants that we sometimes forget to give God what He needs, even after He has given us all that we wanted. Then when He shows us that He is Lord of all, He does it so big that it rocks our entire being. Believe me, I know. I don't know what that means to your situation, but sometimes we can be so caught up in us that we forget about everything else around us. I know you suffered the loss of your babies, and during that time you grieved. But you were also on a mission to conceive again. Can it be that Matt was feeling like things were moving too fast? Did he grieve the way he needed to? Because once Symphony was born, he started acting different, as you stated. I understand you. I understand how you mislooked some of the early signs, especially with a new baby. But that was probably when God was trying to show you that He was present and that a storm was about to come. I believe God needed to do this through Matt because he is your husband, the only other person He knows you adore more than your child. Matt's illness is real. What you're facing is real, but Matt is out on a ledge, and only God can bring him home right away. Please forgive me if I'm reading too much into this. As I listen to your story, I feel compelled to help you think outside the box. I believe Matt will come home to you, but I think it will take some time. You are a strong woman and a wonderful mother and wife. Start asking God to fix you, then ask Him to fix Matt. Then pray for your in-laws' souls. As far as your in-laws are concerned, God will deal with them as He sees fit. I will continue to keep you and your family in prayers. Your friend Erica in Connecticut. Call me anytime. XOXO. Okay, you touched on a lot of things. Look at y'all should see her face. She's just look. Sorry, y'all. I'm breastfeeding. Y'all should see her face. She all smiling. Should I edit that out? Oh, okay. So you okay? First of all, I want to thank you so much for sending me the email, and I definitely want to respond to it. You're absolutely right. Our God is a jealous God, and in a way, I feel like when I look back at a lot of things, especially after the loss of Harmony, I felt like I was praying, but I was still a little hurt. Everybody grieves in a different way. When I was grieving, I was crying, and Matthew was there to hold me up and everything. His way of grieving, my husband was on in a video game. Actually, he was so good playing this game that he became a DM. So that was his way of releasing whatever. That's what he says is the game. I mean, of course, he grieved for our daughters and everything, but it wasn't the way that I was grieving. Like I was in the zone. And it was times that he did break down and he did cry about the loss of our daughters. And at one point in time, he was like, heck no, we're not doing it again. And, I was a little upset. Well, I would cry when he said that. But later on, he said, he prayed about it, and yes, he does want a family. And he made sure to say, we're not going to try to conceive until after we go to our trip to Disney World, which was 6 months later after we had lost Harmony, is when we decided to try to conceive again. Do I feel like that he grieved enough? Yes, I do. You got to understand, I know men and women grieve in a different way. And I'm not saying that I went through way more than what my husband went through, but it was a lot of things that my husband didn't have to deal with. Like when when her remains were brought over to the house, he knew where it was when they were going to come, but me and my mother was here to take her remains. I was there on the phone with a friend to identify my daughter's remains. Matt didn't have to undergo or see those things. Not saying that it discredit him from grieving, but if anyone knows, especially some of my girlfriends that I'm on the phone with, when I would come in the house, my husband would be on his video game. Well, when he would come home, he would be on his video game, on his computer, and he spent majority of the time on that game, to the point that when I started to see his behavior going left wing, I actually thought it was the game. I really thought that game is demonic. The game is doing it because it's a what do you call it? It's one of those games where how can I say? It's like as if you have an avatar and you're basically playing a life in the game. And I was like, no, you cannot play the game. And sometimes I even think to myself, maybe I should have told him he can play that game, because to come to find out, he was playing this game way before he met me. But this game, y'all, when I tell you, it's one of those so real life type of games. It's crazy. It's crazy. So, do I feel like he was grieving? When I look back at all of that, especially the game time, that's that's when we basically started sleeping separately. I mean, I know because I was pregnant and I was fidgeting, and then it started to become too hot up here. But my husband would spend like till 5 o'clock in the morning on that game, to the point that he would fall asleep on the couch. And then I would come downstairs and put the covers over him, and he's like, "Sorry, babe." And I'm like, "It's okay," because I know he enjoyed it. I know he enjoyed it. Um, our God is a jealous God, and the only thing I can not think of, but to ask for forgiveness, is that maybe I did put my husband on a pedestal before God, and also because I was so trying to uphold my image, not my image, but just trying to impress my in-laws so much, I failed to realize that it's God that provides for everything. Um, and I do, if I can turn back the hands of time when my husband, when me and him was going back and forth of holding on to the computer or whatever, I wish I would have just said, "Here, just take the computer, fine, I don't care." Um, it's little things that I wish that I would have done differently. But the only thing that I can say is that he is suffering from an illness, because I had no idea that bipolar was just that real. I mean, like I told you, when I had went and confronted my in-laws, they just said in a sarcastic way, "It's not our fault your relationship didn't work out. He does this all the time." So I started to think, like, has he been down the road with someone else like this before? But then I'm like, he couldn't have. I mean, but then if y'all read into like all of these bipolar stories, I'm just a poster child for it. I mean, you gotta read the stories, y'all, about the spouse, bipolar husband. When do they usually come back? Like, Google it, and you'll see that my story is so similar. A lot of people aren't talking about it on YouTube, but yeah, um, but do I feel like Matt grieved enough when the loss of our daughters? Yes, I do. I really honestly do. I really honestly believe. I mean, we'll always miss our daughters and everything, but his behavior, I mean, his whole face started changing. Like, this is somebody totally, like a different personality, like, started to change. Like, it wasn't, he started to do things different. Like, and it wasn't even just that when she was born, it was going into like the last 3 months, I want to say. And I think a lot of it had to do with his position, his job, because he really loved that job. And because they were dealing with transitional changes and um, cutting his hours, that he was just trying to hold on. And, he just really loved the job. He loved working with people, doing music and everything. So I believe that that had impacted him. But I don't believe that, I wouldn't say that it had anything to do with the pregnancies, because he really was so overly excited about our symphony. He was. I mean, he would be like doing our wiggle worm dance. I mean, if he wasn't, then I'm gonna tell you something. He deserves a Grammy. He needs, take a bow, babe, because I would have never seen it. And he would tell me too, we're going to have a lot of children. He used to grab me by my hand and be like, I'm going to want more children. And I said, babe, after symphony, we're going to need to give us a rest. So, yeah, I think that us having symphony is definitely a testimony. But her dad was suffering from an illness that I had no idea was like a ticking bomb. My in-laws didn't tell me. Nobody really told me about it. And when it came left wing, it was just like, wow. So to answer your question, I do believe that he did grieve. I still, from time to time, still grieve for our daughters. And maybe once in a while, he may think about our daughters as well. And that's the thing, like, when you say that sometimes we can feel like we're so caught up in us. Maybe that is the case, but I'm still just trying to review, like, as a wife, what could I have done better? I prayed for my husband. I loved my husband. It was times where I really couldn't, because high risk, that high risk pregnancy, I really couldn't do too much, but I was still trying. Y'all gotta understand, before the baby shower, I'm on the floor scrubbing baseboards and having contractions. So, and my husband was on a voyage of, I wouldn't say a religious voyage, but proclaiming the word Jesus and getting the word out of there. Like, he was on fire. Like, he was doing up until like 5 o'clock in the morning. When he got off the video games, he started to enroot himself in the Bible. And I would be like, boo, that's awesome. Like, his messages would be great, to the point he became overly obsessed with them. And then he kept going, even in church, in the Bible studies, and the crusade pens that his father would give him. And my husband was just on fire with it. Not enough faith to be an atheist. He was reading the books. I mean, it was just like, wow, And like I said, he started trying to write books, and then he got really overly excited about a publishing company that was going to publish one of his books, to the point that he was just all over the place. And I had to say, if you don't calm down, you're not doing any publishing, because this shouldn't make you feel so whatever. But I could see that he looked like he was just going to fly somewhere. Like, he was holding on to something, and he was just going to I used to tell him, babe, you have to anchor yourself. And the reason why I would say anchor is so you won't fly all over the place. But yeah, our God is a jealous God. But I know that when you get married, I thought as a wife that you're supposed to make your husband happy. I'm not going to say I made my husband God, but I did want to make sure that he knew I loved him. Going out and making sure I'm picking out his shirts, his ties, and, getting little things for him, a little gifts for him, and I don't know. Maybe I should have just said, babe, go ahead and play the game. I don't know. And sometimes, y'all, I even think, what if he's in that game? right now. And y'all have to understand, if you ever knew any game, and I'm not talking about like the video games, I'm talking about the computer games. If you ever knew any, like, those games were like crazy, mind blowing games, okay? Like, I remember making an avatar, and me and him were in the game playing husband and wife, and I got on a ship with a bunch of, I got on some ship and ended up somewhere, and he was at a bar with some other guy. Now, this is in a game, and he would make these, when I tell you, he would make these stories, like the bartender would pass them a note, and he reads this note while he's with his friend, and he's like, we gotta go because my wife is on a ship selling somewhere else. And the other guy that's in the game thinking, okay, this is role playing, and then as soon as they get to the other side, he's the guy was like, oh, there is a lady that's playing the game, and he's like, hello, my lady, and we're in the game playing this. Like, it was mind blowing. I mean, my husband would come up with so many crazy stories, to the point that if you know anything about a video game, there, especially with people playing real life, and then you have the DMs. The DMs are like people who are like God. They're like pretty much controlling what people do in this game. My husband started playing this game and was just playing it and role playing it, and he became the head DM in the game. And at first I was just like, okay, he'll be on there, just rocking out, having fun and stuff. And, when he would come home, he'd be like, babe, I'm just going to hang with the guys. And I'm like, and his thing of hanging with the guys, he's in the game. And I'm like, all right, boo, whatever's making you happy. But then when I noticed that 2-3 months before having the baby, that, things started to go off, I told him, you will no longer be able to play that game, because I felt like he saw something in the game that kind of frightened him, that I was like, no, you can't play that game no more. But now I realize it wasn't the game. It was the bipolar coming back. One of the ladies, I reached out to a lady on YouTube, and she talks about bipolar all the time. And I'm like, look, my husband has left. When does this manic calm down, and when do they usually come back? And she's like, it depends on the person. I mean, and also bipolar doesn't just leave. You can control it, but it's always there. So do I feel like he is because he hasn't grieved? No, I do not. I mean, if y'all saw if anyone is friends with me on Facebook, you saw the pictures of him painting his daughter's room and going around and telling everybody that, I'm about to be a daddy. I'm super excited and things like that. But it was like he was starting to deteriorate, but I just didn't notice it. He was hiding it. And then, not even hiding it, it was just, I didn't understand where it was coming from. And I thought, something had happened to trigger it off, maybe, sipping or beer or. And I thought that may have triggered it off, but no, the whole time, God revealed to me it was what he was diagnosed from the get-go. So yeah, I don't, I believe that even if I didn't have Symphony, that it was going to eventually come out in such a way. And it just came out. He should have been on medication. It would have been, y'all gotta understand, it was times that I would see my husband's face and it looked so different. Like, it'll look totally different. I remember when he was quitting smoking cigarettes, and I can see something different, to the point I was like, man, go get a jack, because I would tell him to look at your face. And I remember years ago when I first met him, he used to make these faces, and I'll be like, fix your face, just playing with him. But yeah. But I am trying to think outside of the box. Do I feel that my husband is going to come back? Do y'all think he's going to come back? This would have never been him to up and leave. So I can't say I want him to come back, but I want him to come back as the man I married. And I'm willing to accept whatever it is that he's going through, because I married him knowing that. Do I want him to come back? Yes, I do. Do I think he's going to come back? I believe, like what you said, God is going to deal with him. He's on the edge right now, and it's serious, and God is going to deal with him. So I have accepted that. I think when he first left me crying, throwing up, going into convulsions, and everything like that, I think a lot of that has gotten out of my system. So I would be surprised if he shows up. In the meantime, between time, sometimes I'm not going to lie though, if it's, I know it's the bipolar because of the behaviors, but sometimes I feel like that's messed up. That's really messed up. Like, you gotta understand. I feel like my husband had everything. Like, you had a wife who adores you, loves you very much, willing to do almost just about anything for you. A God fearing, praying wife. I mean, you have a beautiful home, a loyal dog, cats that love you. I mean, a beautiful daughter, wonderful home. I mean, when it came to our finances, y'all, please, we were living comfortable, and I mean overly comfortable. What would possess a man to get up and walk away? What would possess a man to get up and walk away on his wife just had a C-section, a 4-week-old daughter? What would possess a man? It had to be the illness, because you got to understand, like, when my husband came to the hospital the following day after that whole incident, he got, I was crying so hard when we were home, and I was like, why would you do that? This is before God revealed to me because of the bipolar. He couldn't tell me why. Most of the time, people with bipolar, they can't tell you why. I wasn't putting two and two together. But he said, babe, are you going to forgive me? Can you forgive me? And he held my hand, and he was just like, never will I do it again. And I believed it. I was like, all right, never will he do it again. I believed it. I mean, he had the eyeballs straight looking at me like, babe, I'm not going anywhere. And I believed it. I was just like, okay. So, I'm going to continue on praying for him. Will I ever feel like, would I ever feel that I'm going to trust him if he came back home and said he'll never leave? It's not that I wouldn't trust him. It's just that I know that when you're dealing with that type of illness, there's nothing that you can really do. I've been reading it over and over again. There's nothing that you can really do. And I'm just like, Jesus. I mean, it's not even just me and his daughter. I mean, he basically stopped talking to his own parents. Then he stopped talking to, like, people that he would normally talk to. And, so I think that it was certain triggers that triggered him off. But, I don't know. And then it went to the point that he started to hate me. And when I mean hate me, he started to elaborate lies or say certain things about me. And I just didn't understand why he would do those things. But then I looked it up as well. And a lot of women and men who dealt with situations there was a man that I was reading up on where his wife divorced him 3 times. So they got married like over 3 times. And I was just like, oh no, I'm not doing that. I'm not doing and I was reading a lady yesterday dealing with the bipolar, and she was talking about that sometimes this can be very devastating to families. It can break up families. Devastating isn't the word, because it has really affected how basically our family for real. Like, Symphony's young right now, so it's a good thing that she's not going to remember this. But it has affected where we're going to go from here and how we'll be able to pick up pieces, or if my husband's going to get any type of treatment. I don't know where he could be right now. He could be in the streets. He could be, I don't know, doing something else, playing the video game all day, not long, doing music, maybe dating someone new. I don't even know. But I know one thing, with having a baby, it cuts your crying and mourning in half, because when I look at her, I just have to say, okay, she's smiling at me. I'm all in the zone. But when I look at her, she's like, her eyes looking like moons. And she's like, you got any milk? And I'm so I thank God for that. I really do thank God for that. So I am thinking out. I'm trying to think outside of the box. Like, if I'm looking in an equation of, okay, he's here, they're there, we're here. I just never thought I would be going through this. And y'all, I don't even want to tell my Nana. I don't even want to tell my grandmother this. And that's going to be another video. I'll do that in a minute. But just to, and thank you to, Erica, just for saying that you believe that Matt will come back. But I think, like you said, you think it is going to take some time. And sometimes I'll be asking, like, do y'all think he's going to come back? Like I said, if my husband came in and be like, hey, babe, I'll be like, oh, that's him. Now, that other person, I don't know who the heck that is, but I know with the smile and everything, like, and he will always kiss me on my forehead. Matt will always come in here and get down on his knees and just say a prayer. And then, my pregnant stuff, I'm all on the bed, and I'm like, I don't get down on my knees too and pray. Like, yeah. So, as a wife, I think there's some things that probably I could have worked on. But he know I love him very much. And I would tell him all the time, I'm your biggest fan. So, yeah. So, I just wanted to reach out to you about that. I think everything is God's time, and nothing, especially with the conceiving of our daughter, the birth of her, was just, I think it's perfect. She's perfect in every way. And like I said before, if he was holding on, I do give him respect that he held on until after we had her. He did. There were some things that he said before, and I don't want to really say those things on camera. But I sometimes feel like, would you wanted to make me a baby mama? I don't know. But then again, you can't sit up here and be saying, give your life over to Jesus, quoting scriptures, and then telling your wife, deuces, He hasn't even called. He's completely shut everything out. And I'm hoping he knows that I'm waiting for him. I told him, you waited for me at the altar, so me and Symphony will be waiting for you. Yeah. Yep, so I hope I answered everything, and thank you so much for the insight. But like I said, God is a jealous God, and I think that was my test about dedicating her back and being fearful of my in-laws, and basically realizing that God is going to move me, and God is going to protect me, and God is going to provide. And I didn't think that you can overly love your husband too much. I didn't think that. I thought that as a wife, you know what I'm saying, you make sure that he knows that you love him. You know, we went to church. We was a praying family. We went to church. We went on Sundays, and you know, we were we got pregnant again. We got baptized together. We found a good church home. We were searching for a while for a really good church home, but even while we were searching, we still was in church. And if we missed a couple of Sundays, I'll be like, babe, or he'll be like, babe, tithers. I mean, it's not like, you know, we weren't rooted in the word. I mean, we were, and we still are. And so that's one thing that I know, that Matthew, he does know the word. He has given his life over to Christ. I mean, we'll go out there and evangelize to other people too. So that's a good thing, because then I know that the Holy Spirit will work on him. God will work on him. In the same way, God will be working on me too. So I just wanted to answer that. And I know I'm going to be doing another video later on this afternoon, because some of you other ladies had asked some questions. Okay, so until then, ta-ta.